Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and you probably clicked on this because you're small in more than just one way. But you also bought yourself a Denali, but you didn't still get the girls? Well, don't worry, I have the solution for you to overcompensate, and that is the 8-inch BBS lift kit. Now in the background, you probably know this 2015 GMC Sierra Denali. It is my friend Gabe's, and it is definitely spec'd out just how your grandfather would spec it out, with the cinnamon tannish color and also with the pap cap. That's why its nickname is called Paw Paw. But without further ado, let's chuck this thing onto some cinder blocks and rip the wheels off of her. Now we're going to start on the back of the lift kit because some of you folks from North Carolina are dating your sister and your daddy bought your truck, then you threw a locally hated sticker on your front windshield. Well, that doesn't give you an excuse to not finish the lift kit. Okay, now before you take off the struts, make sure you disconnect the battery. All you need to do is disconnect the negative terminal. Make sure you have your cum rag handy to place in the way so you don't get any arcing while you're working on the vehicle. Next, you want to disconnect your struts and any wiring you have going to it. Here you can see that I'm taking off the wire that's connected to the strut for the magnet ride. Now for the wire that's still connected to this truck, I'm going to plug in one of these plugs. I'll have a link for these down in the description below. Now make sure you take off everything that could be hung up or pinched while you drop your rear suspension, like brake lines and ABS wires as well. So after we take out these brackets for the e-brake lines, we're going to throw a jack underneath the differential so then it doesn't fall whenever we take out the old U-bolts. Now take out the bolt that holds all the leaf springs together. Now you can slowly lower your jack and make sure you keep an eye on those brake lines. Now that we have it to this point where we threw in our new leaf and we have some clamps on it to keep it set in place, we're going to go and repeat this process over on the other side. Now you can throw in your bigger blocks and your bigger U-bolts that came in the kit. Now you want to put on your new Fox shocks, and you also have to put in your new rubber bushings. As you can see, we used a little bit of persuasion to get her on there. Okay, now that the back is taken care of, we're going to move on to Carolina's favorite, the front suspension. We're going to take off any ABS lines or brake line brackets that are going to be in the way of the installation, so then we can take off this knuckle easily. Now we're going to take off the factory plastic skid plate to expose everything that we're going to work on down there. Before you touch anything suspension wise, you want to get those brakes out of the way, so take off your brake calipers and put it somewhere that is safe. Now that you have your caliper put somewhere where there's no tension on the brake lines, you want to take off your front rotors. Once these are popped off, take off the axle nut. Now that you busted that nut off, you're going to take off your front sway bar. Now that that front sway bar is taken out, let's move on to the front strut. Now we can take out these axles and you can twist it a little bit so then you can access the bolts easier. After that, take the bolt out of the upper control arm, start beating it off the knuckle, then you can take out your axle. Then you can disconnect the bolt off the lower control arm and take out the knuckle. Disconnect the wire for the MagneRide, then you can take out your strut, and then after you do that, then you can take out the bolts for your upper control arm. Now everything is out of the way for all the new stuff. Then you want to take out your cross members because those guys are going to be in the way of your differential. Once you do that, disconnect the front drive shaft. Once you get this drive shaft out, make sure you put that spacer that goes in the back of it before you put it back in. Also, in the directions it says to cut this before you take out the differential. I would recommend taking out the differential first and then cutting it. It gives you a lot more room for error, but you also have to cut 3.5 inches off of this. And also put on the metal plate that's supplied. You're going to have to get this welded, but you can drive it to a welding shop if you don't have a welder with you. So to take off the front differential, you want to take off these bolts that hold it on there. Then you want to cut off these tabs that specifically tell you to cut it off in the instructions. So make sure you go and check that stuff out. We also grinded everything down, made sure it looked nice and smooth. Now throw up your differential spacers and all your other arms, and then it should look a little bit like this. Nice and pretty and brand new. Now we didn't have time to clean up this old lower control arm, but you want to make sure you throw on your old lower control arm, then you can throw in your brand new strut, go from the top of the car and throw in the bolts. It's nice to have someone down there below to hold it for you. And you want to make sure you throw that reservoir right up top there so everyone can see it, so that everyone knows you spent a lot of money on this lift kit. But after that, you can throw in your new upper A-arms, give it a little bit of persuasion to get in there, and make sure you get those bushings all nice and greased. Then you can see that we threw on our new spindle that's a little bit taller for the lift, and also our old wheel bearings and brakes. Then you want to put in all your spacers for your sway bars. Then throw on your wheels and see all the sexiness.